Chicano.
Oh, Scoozy. God, I hope that wasn't the first thing that was heard. I have to edit that one out.
Probably was.
Probably was. I would agree. So we just, I just fucking got back from Prisoners. Chris, you saw it earlier this afternoon, right?
Yep.
Go ahead, run it down.
So, Prisoners is a movie by Denis Villeneuve. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's a story about the Dover family, with the head of the family being Keller Dover, played by Hugh Jackman, and the Birch family, with Terrence Howard playing the father there, who are joining together their families for Thanksgiving Day dinner. And while they are there, their two daughters, the daughters from a respective family, the youngest ones, decide to go over back to the Dover's place to go pick up something, and they don't return. And they'd come to find out that the two daughters have been kidnapped, presumably by this strange RV that was parked not too far away from the house. At that point, we are then introduced to Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Detective Loki, who decides to get in on the case. However, things are not progressing very favorably for the family, so Hugh Jackman's character, Keller Dover, decides to take matters into his own hands after feeling that the police aren't doing enough, and goes to what some would consider very extreme lengths to try to get his daughter back. This is essentially a thriller, mystery, suspense movie with a little bit of crime thrown in there.
I didn't feel any suspense, Chris.
Oh, there's a lot of it in this movie.
I didn't feel
There are
any
some
of it.
absolutely tense moments in this movie.
Let me get out my warning first. I had the worst movie-going experience of my entire life with this movie. It wasn't the movie itself, I hope, but I had the most talkative crowd I've ever had in movies. So, my opinion of this movie, I can't really, like, when we get to the end, I cannot exactly grade this movie. Because I don't know if I'm agitated at the movie or the experience I was having while watching this movie.
A shitty crowd can ruin a movie.
Yeah, it was fucking terrible.
This is a mystery movie, and there are several twists in it. And this is one of those movies that if you get someone, like even in our audience, I went at noon. That's generally the time I go see movies because not a lot of people are there.
Yep.
And even in my movie theater, which was huge, but probably only had like a dozen people in, there's still one or two girls who are like, "Oh my god!" when like the twist happened or when they cut off suddenly for something like that. So I can only imagine what a packed theater would have of people being like, "Oh, do you think it's him?"
Is this a spoiler or not? I'm gonna type it into the thingy. And you let me know. It's just the word that I'm gonna bring up.
Yeah, sure. I think you can bring that up.
Okay. There's a scene in this movie where Jake Gyllenhaal's character finds snakes, and my crowd just gasps. I mean, they were freaking out at these fucking snakes.
It comes out of left field, but honestly, the snakes have very little impact on anything.
No, of course not. There's no. They
Okay.
come up twice in this whole movie. There's.
I think this is one movie I think we're gonna have to get our rating out very early
soon because
it's very difficult to talk about this movie without getting into spoilers almost immediately because this is a drama. This is a suspense movie.
Mm-hmm. This movie is sitting at 2 hours 26 minutes long, which to me, for this movie, I don't, like I said, you have to take what I'm about to say, all my negatives about this movie with a grain of salt because I don't know, what it's coming from. But to me, this movie felt like it was at least 45 minutes too long. It just felt like a lot of the characters they were just doing stuff to do stuff at some points. They were kind of wandering aimlessly and shit like that. There were some scenes that didn't need to be there, I thought. And the movie would have been better off without them. I don't know. It just dragged. It dragged for me. I'm just like, can we have something happen?
I would agree that it's definitely a long movie, and it's definitely a little too long. There is a point in the middle of the movie where we get thrown a red herring culprit.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff. The way the movie even ends, without getting into too much spoilers, you're not even really sure why that character was there. there's a lot of discussion you can have on it, but it's one of these things that so much time was spent on it, and you kind of didn't need to have that. Now, I guess it was appropriate that they had one because they do try to throw a lot of red herrings at you and try to really slip you up on what's going on. But there definitely is definitely a spot in the movie. It's around the time the snakes are there, actually,
Yeah.
where you're just like, this is absurdly long. And there are
That's
some scenes that just drag out a little too long, which is strange because at the beginning of the movie, I would have said the opposite. There was a lot of really quick cutting at the beginning of the movie on scenes that feel like there's a purpose to them, but they were just like, we have to get this in there because we're trying to establish a connection to this family, but we don't want to spend too long on it. Like, there's a moment where the two girls are watching a hamster play. This is the very beginning of the movie, and they're trying.
I thought it was a rat or a rat.
A rat. It's some hamster rodent bullshit
Yeah, a
thing.
mouse or
They're trying.
something.
They're trying to create the feeling these are two innocent little girls. They feel human, so that you feel sympathy once they get taken. And it's just a really quick scene of them looking in the cage and being like, "Is that a slide? Oh wow, he's so quick!" And then it just cuts immediately to something else.
Yeah,
It was like, "Hold on, we
pointless.
yeah, we got to give you this, but then let's go somewhere else."
Yeah, pointless.
I wouldn't say pointless.
No,
'Cause
no, because I felt, they're two little girls. No matter what, you should be feeling sympathy for them, unless you're one of the bastards that, that are in this movie talking through it all.
Well, let's be honest. Their Batman smells Robin Jingle Bells song got on my nerves. It's kind of like, I hope those little girls get kidnapped. Then I ate my words like 15 minutes later. It's like, oh god, no! I'm so sorry. Was it my fault? Was it supposed to be a very different movie before I started talking?
Oh, by the way, about that Batman song, yeah, that comes back and that's stupid.
No, I like that.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Um, so don't just right now. Performances for the most part are extremely good in this movie. Hugh
Oh, wait.
Jackman as Keller Dover. He brings. It's funny that he's even more intense in this movie than he's ever been as Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely fear for my life. Not fear for my life, but he really does create an intensity. Even his tenderness has a very sharp intensity to it. There's a moment where he's trying to like encourage his son to be strong. He's like, "Be strong, be strong. We need you strong for the family." And he hugs him. It's
Grabs him by the
very-
back of the neck.
yeah, like he's a cat or something. It's very intense. He was fantastic. The Alex Jones character, Paul Dano, who's the one they find in the RV, fantastic guy. I've apparently he's been in a few other things, but he is absolutely great in this movie. He plays his character very well. Of this, you can't quite tell if he's all there. Very strange, very aloof, quiet. He has very few lines, but he has such a very perfect way to his acting there, where you definitely do feel like there's something not quite right about this person, but you can't tell if it's something sinister or if it really is just like a mental deficiency of some kind. The other really Jake Gyllenhaal is Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie.
Okay, on Jake Gyllenhaal, do you think he excessively blinks in this movie?
I didn't know if that was a character trait. Like I noticed that.
That's all I looked at. Whenever I was looking at him, I'm sitting there just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I mean, it's
6, 7.
all over the time. In this
He's
movie.
blinking like a madman in this movie.
And I'm not sure if that was supposed to be like a character trait, like that's his way of kind of intimidating people or something like that.
Yeah, blinking at somebody intimidates him. No,
Yeah,
I think it's
know.
if it's part of the character, it's like he's overstressed and overworked, so he that's something that he's doing, or I don't know. But
He's okay. I've never been a crazy big Jake Gyllenhaal fan.
No.
There are points where he's good in this, and then there are points where he just has this big doofy smile and he seems very disconnected from the scene. There are good points and bad points to him. And also there's Terrence Howard, who plays Franklin Birch.
he's wasted in this movie, I think.
He plays the much more effeminate dad to Hugh Jackman's character. He's kind of crying a lot, being a wimp. He doesn't seem overly concerned about his daughter, but part of that is because we only really focus after the kidnapping. We really only get the chance to then peek inside the lives of the Dover family and seeing how they're reacting to this.
Yeah,
and we
which-
do get to see the parents of the Birch family, but we don't get to see
I
them.
was disappointed about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would have been maybe you could say superfluous because we're already seeing it on one end. With
Yeah, but it doesn't mean
but
they're both handling it the same way. We obviously know they're not handling it the same
yes.
way. But I would have liked to have seen more of how Terrence's family's, handling this.
We don't get a whole lot of it, and really they only come in later once they're the ones who have to then deal with what Hugh Jackman's character is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So Terrence Howard, he's I what for the character he's given, he seems to be performing it fine. But I watched it with my brother-in-law, and he came out of the movie being like, "That guy was a shitty dad. He didn't care at all about his dad." Like, I guess you could actually kind of say that he is kind of just like, "No, don't hurt that poor boy." It's an interesting.
God help
dynamic.
the person whoever hurts my kids. You know what?
Yeah.
I make what fucking Wolverine did to that guy look like some kind of field trip. But yeah, like I said, there were some really good moments in this movie, but overall, I just found it lacking and way too long.
Yeah, I could definitely agree that this is a too long of a movie, 2.5 hours. And it
Just
definitely feels like it's 2.5 hours. This is
oh
one of
yeah,
those-
fuck yeah, it does. Oh,
it's
especially
not
when you're
one
in a
of
theater
those-
that doesn't shut up.
yeah, it's not one of those like suspense movies where you're like 2 hours have gone by. There's just moments where you're like, oh my god, what time is it? But overall, I really like this movie. There's some really good points I don't want to get into quite yet because they are spoilers, massive ones too. So I can't even like slightly allude to it.
Yeah.
And the ending, some people will like it. I absolutely love the way it ends.
Yeah, that last bit of a scene with
Yeah,
him. I like
love
that.
that.
They don't need to explain anything past it.
Yes, I think it was
At
great
all.
where they cut off there.
Because he explains what's going to happen before that
Yep.
scene happens. So we
And
know
there's-
what's going to happen. We don't have to see it. Who cares?
Yeah. And I had a train of thought, and you've thrown me off it with your tomfoolery.
Get over it, Chris.
It's a very strong movie. The ending for some people, I think, might bring up a couple questions. And again, there is that whole middle to contend with. But overall, I thought this is a really strong movie. Not perfect by any stretch. Again, too long, but I found this a highly enjoyable movie. I think if you're looking for a thriller movie, looking for something with some suspense to it, or just something that's a different taste from all the movies we've had over the summer with these big action movies and superheroes and all that stuff, this I think is a good palate refresher. I would give this movie probably an A minus.
Wow.
I like this one. There are certain points in this that are absolutely they hit so many amazing emotional notes.
I don't know. I don't. Honestly, I think I'm gonna sustain from grading this movie because of the experience I had there.
What's your guttural reaction though? You can't, no reason to make it official, but what would your
I'd give it a C minus.
Okay.
Average, except the things that killed me is just the length of this movie. I really think if it's shorter and they removed a lot of these scenes that don't need to be there, I think this would be a fantastic movie. But
Yeah.
the way it's edited and viewed now, I can't really strongly like this movie.
I almost wonder if this would have been better as like a television series, as like a mini series or
Like a 6-part HBO show or something
or
like that?
something like that. Because, for the length they have in there, nothing ever really feels like
Well, this takes place
is-
over 7 days.
Yeah.
Or 8 days.
Something along those lines. And you get the impression that a lot of the stuff, I think, even though we say it's filler and stuff like that, there is something generally to it. If it's, a sake of building up a character or kind of to throw a red herring or something at you.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few things I ever thought like that was 100%. Like, why did we even bother with that?
No, I thought there were a few. We'll get to those in spoilers, though.
Yeah, but I think it almost would have worked a little bit better there because you could have kept all that stuff in and added a bit more intrigue, and then you have the week to week stuff. I don't know. Felt like maybe for a story like this, that could have also been an appropriate way to tell it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, take my view with a grain of salt. C minus and an A minus from Chris. Now we're gonna get into spoilers for this movie. If you do not want to be spoiled for this movie, get the fuck out now.
And this is like a legit, like, I know it's
Yeah.
not like, oh no, if you don't want to find out what happens at the end of Riddick, then stay around.
This movie is a movie you guys may possibly want to watch. Like
It's
I said,
also a movie with the spoilers being a huge part of
it will ruin the movie for you.
Once you know what happens, a lot of the drama's gone.
Yeah, yeah. There's no going back from these spoilers.
Yep.
So this is the final warning. Spoilers starting now, and let's begin. Fuck this movie. No. All right. Okay. There's a lot with this movie that I thought was weird. What the fuck do I want to start?
This is definitely a movie with a lot of questions afterwards. I think seeing it in a group is helpful because you're able to answer questions or at least realize questions that other people may have thought of.
I don't think there's a lot of questions left after the end of the movie.
There's some stuff that it's weird because there are some points where the movie is almost too deliberate in trying to get across something. I thought they could have been more subtle with some things, like when he was Detective Loki goes into the house after the mom's hears someone in the house, and he walks up and looks at the window. You can see the thing of pills behind her.
Yeah.
And you should be able to be like, well, he's not going to believe her because he thinks she's just high on pills at this point. He'll, pretend to write it down. But he still stops and, like, walks over and picks up the pills and looks at it. And you're just like, I got it. He's going to doubt her because of the pills. You didn't need to actually have him walk over and look at it. But then there are other things that are very subtle. And I don't know, maybe they weren't subtle. Maybe I'm just reading into it too much. But, again, this is huge spoiler. So if you're still here... You're fucked at this point. And I feel no apologies.
I'm just watching the chat numbers go down.
When the little girl, Joyce, I think is the Birch family's girl,
Joy,
or Joy,
Joy.
when she escapes, she mentions, she has this flashback, and she says, "You were there," pointing at to Keller. And my sister didn't understand. She's like, "Why did she worry about that?" And when we came to realize, like, well, not only was he at the house where they were kidnapped at, but he left suddenly and left his jacket there. And when she in her kind of half drug induced haze was remembering the being chased, the woman was wearing the jacket. So that's why she thought it was him there, because she heard his voice and then at the same time saw, has that memory recollection of the jacket as well. And that's not something they put a big focus in on. If that isn't in fact what they're going for.
You picked that up, I didn't.
I didn't pick it up. It was someone else in my group picked it up.
I did not pick that up.
I picked up, I was like, well, he was there earlier, but
yeah.
It was the fact that he left the jacket there, too. So.
The guy that catch didn't do it.
Yeah.
By the way. Big spoiler.
There's basically two red herrings in this movie. The first is Alex Jones' character, played by Paul Dano, as he talked about. Absolutely fantastic. And the second character is this guy, I think Bob Taylor was his name. He's this guy we meet, and you get the impression that he's probably... You get the impression he has something weird with children, because he likes to go to stores and buy children's clothes. And I
didn't know he had a name.
They find him at the candlelight vigil for the girls, and he's like awkwardly staring, and he runs away when the detective looks at him. So he's your red herring throughout most of the movie, being like, this guy knows something, this guy knows something. And then by the end, you kind of figure out, like, oh, he didn't know anything at all, actually. He wasn't actually attached to this in any way, shape, or form, except for the possibility that he may have also been one of the children that the Jones family kidnapped.
Well, Mike, oh, yeah, okay, never mind. I'm putting the connections here. Because... For a second there, I thought he was, because he's drawing the map of that puzzle.
Drawing the map,
but that's also from a book, which is widely distributed. But then again,
has to do with the same thing too, of someone who kidnaps children.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when they find in the backyard, they just find two mannequins back there, and all the clothes he's gotten have been from, he steals it from other people's houses and things like that. And it's all pig's blood. It's very.
I don't understand. When it comes to his
that's
stuff,
what I
don't
Get
understand.
that's why. The one thing.
Why do
about this?
If he's the bad, or if he's supposed to be the bad guy, the guy that we're supposed to believe is, what's with the mannequins? What's with the is he acting it out and he's using pig's blood to act it out, or?
Well, that's the thing.
I don't fucking understand.
He's the one piece in all this that we don't get enough on, especially because he kills himself so quickly. Mm-hmm. That you kind of are left with a lot of questions. Now, it kind of makes sense if maybe he was another one of the children that the Jones family kidnapped, and that after he escaped, he has all these mental deficiencies from the fucked up shit they're doing. It all has to kind of root back to children of being kidnapped as children, other children being kidnapped, and after he's managed to escape, he just kind of replicates a lot of the things that are with him, and it focuses just on that child aspect. But without that, he's not a convicted sex offender because he wasn't on the list of people that he first goes after.
They run him, don't they? They say they have nothing on him. in the database or something like that. I could have swore there was a line saying that. They don't know who the fuck he is.
I don't know if they do because they don't know who he is until Loki goes running after him. Like once that girl calls from the store and says, I mean, I guess they run his plates and maybe they find out then. I guess after they capture him too, they probably are like, he only has no reports on him. But yeah, he's the one that there wasn't enough clues about, and he is kind of yeah, he is kind of a bit of a plot hole too. Where we're just like, what the fuck was the point of this guy? Is he just a huge collection of fucking coincidences?
Yeah, is he just another person weirdo living in this town? Because this town apparently has a lot of weirdos in it.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
I thought he was. Okay, this shit still doesn't make sense. Okay, because maybe you'll explain it. Because, like I said, my mind was scattered through this whole movie. He at his place. That's where they find the snakes.
Yes.
We find out from from what's his name, Danny, the kid that they captured and were torturing.
Alex.
But no, his real name was Danny or Jimmy or something like that.
We find out he's actually a kidnapped child who's been raised by this family.
Alex. We find out that Alex
has a fear of snakes.
Has a fear of snakes. Now, is that just a?
It's a coincidence.
That's just fucking.
That's
why? How can you have that many fucking coincidences? That's no.
Well, the thing is that it's only a coincidence to the audience because the characters who know about the snakes don't know about the other situation of a snake. Like Loki never finds out this guy has a fear of snakes, in just the same way that.
See, I was hoping for fucking what's his nuts, the father, to find out that he has a fear of snakes and then start putting snakes in the box.
He did, I think.
I didn't hear anything about it.
I don't think you are supposed to hear it. I think what happens is he finds out about that fear of snakes because I don't think we see him again for the rest of the day after that.
No.
And then when we cut to
we hear him screaming.
Yeah, we hear him screaming in it. I presumed it's because he put a snake in there. Because he's not even there at that point. He's not there to turn the water on. If he kept hot water or scalding hot or cold water, he'd probably have killed him by that point.
Yeah, I guess you can say that. Because at that point, that's when he went back to his mother, the guy's so-called
that's
mother's
when he went
house.
to the mom's place to find out.
But that was stupid, too. What was the point of him making him drink the fucking Jesus juice?
To knock him out.
No, because he never got knocked out.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't.
He got put in. If he wasn't knocked out, or if he wasn't like severely drug induced, he probably would have been able to get out just fine. He'd been able to shout for help. It's a big thing at the end. Is the only thing you do is weakly blow on that whistle.
Yeah, but you're not knocked out.
No, but
what happens in that
you're put into an induced state.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but he's still fine-ish to get him in. The thing that annoyed the fuck out of me is him in that car. She's like, move the car, something like that.
It's a very long scene.
Yeah, oh, fuck yeah, it is. Do you know if you just would have jerked it backwards, you probably would have got away? Or forwards?
Well, I think he was also worried about his daughter at that point.
Yeah, but at least he has more information to actually do what he needs to do to find her.
I think he worries that she'll just kill her at that point.
I don't know.
What bothered me more is that, all right, I don't think I have to say this, but huge spoilers for the very, very fucking end of this movie.
The mother did it.
The mother did it. Put Hugh Jackman in the hole where she kept the kids for a little bit. Is planning to eventually, I guess, just kill him and then dump his daughter's body in before she does it. But the little girl's still alive at this point. Basically, blah, 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 blah. Some stuff happens I'll get into later. Detective Loki saves the day. Now, they're back at...
Huzzah.
The newspaper is just reporting the father is missing. They don't know what. And they're now examining the house to find any other further clues. And everyone's like, well, just pack it up. It's going to be a huge storm coming in next day. So, we don't want the ground to get too frozen. So we'll be back a little bit later. So everyone leaves. And Detective Loki is sitting there. And, you're sitting there like, is anyone going to fucking find Hugh Jackman? He's down there. And then he kind of, weakly blows on the whistle. And that's the clue. It ends there. You just hear the whistle a couple times. And Loki's like,
what
shaking his head like, yeah, he's like...
He doesn't believe what he's hearing.
I must be just hearing something. And then he hears it one more time and then kind of turns and then the movie cuts right there. And a bunch of people in my theater were like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. I was like, of course you fucking know what's going to happen.
He finds him.
He's going to arrest him.
He's going to find him. He's going to take him to the hospital. Then he's going to arrest him and put him in jail.
And they probably should arrest the other family too for helping in this.
Yes.
But the thing that bothered me, I was like, so these guys are searching the house. No one thought, hey, let's just check underneath the car real quick to make sure there's not a board underneath there. It was very strange. They sweep the whole house, but they don't check underneath the car. Especially because if you look at the car,
What
you
if
can
Hugh
tell.
Jackman bought the car?
Yeah, that'd be great if he's like, I'm here to buy a car.
Remember? Because the first time he sees the car, he's like, it's for sale. And
Yeah.
that would be great if he bought the car and just fucked his own movie somehow.
But it is strange. I was like, no one looked underneath the car. Like, if you take one look at it, you can see it's been driven recently. Like, it's not even like, oh, this is some old rusted out fucking.
Hold on, here's an even bigger plot hole. Where's the truck?
She drove it off somewhere.
She drove it off behind the house. We don't see how far she goes. But then again, when they do this kind of shit, they're going to canvass the area before they start digging shit up.
Probably. It's not really.
And there was a day in between the shit that happened. So if she parked it within eyesight of that parking lot, or not parking lot, but driveway, they would have saw it.
Yeah. It's not really clear. Again, the ending is good for the drama of it, but yeah, there are some things that don't.
No,
make
because
sense.
there's no drama at the ending.
I think there is of whether or not he's going to be found.
No, he's gonna be found.
Yeah, well, you presume, is he going to be alive at that
Yes.
point? I like the way they ended with the whistle. I think it was very cool, and I like that they cut right there without actually showing you what happens. But yeah, there's some weak points to the movie, but there are some points that are absolutely fantastic. Because at this point, I've already told you both of the girls survive, so I guess that's out there. But there's a point where they believe they've been killed. It has to do with the red herring. They managed to find, this set of women's clothes, of a little girl's clothes covered in blood, and they've taken pictures, and they asked the parents to ID it. And Hugh Jackman goes in for his, and they're going through them, and he's just like, no,
Bunny sock.
maybe. And then he gets handed a single sock with a little bit of a little picture of a bunny on it, and it's covered in blood. And the way Hugh Jackman just breaks down is gripping. It absolutely just like tore me up inside. Because here's the thing,
Do I have a soul? Because I didn't.
You were
react to
probably there
that
was
at
probably
all.
some dude who was just like, "Woo, Hugh Jackman, get him, Wolverine!"
That scene kind of blew right past me, to be honest.
Oh no, that one hit me. Like, here's the thing, I got another trailer for Gravity, and yet again I went through. I was like, "Who the fuck would care?" This is never gonna happen to anyone. How is this scary? But the drama in Prisoners felt more real to me, because even without having kids in my head, I could still be like, "Oh my god, it would be horrible to have your kid taken from you and to have to identify the bloody sock afterwards." Because it's all this intensity Hugh Jackman has built up over the movie and even after that point. But we could tell he's such a strong, very independent person. He's built up a very big wall, but as he kind of has to look at this sock covered in blood, it all just breaks away. And he doesn't ever outright just start crying, but he just starts tearing up, and it's such a great...
You pussy.
It's a great moment. It's dramatic, it's heavy. If that was
It's
the
a
way
good scene.
Yeah, absolutely great there.
But there's, okay. Questions again. Did he just the crazy guy, the guy that has nothing to do with the story? Did he just buy a happenstance the same pair of socks, or did he steal those socks?
No, he stole them.
He stole them. Okay,
Yes.
so we know that now. He stole them, and we see establishing shots. He's been in both houses. Just another coincidence. He just happened to rob both houses for clothing.
I think no, because he also was at their candlelight vigil, so he knows both of the girls were kidnapped. So I think it may be something that he.
Oh, got it. He fantasized he's the one who did it. That's why there's two mannequins in this fucking.
Yeah, I
round.
think so.
Okay. What the fuck is up with everybody who lives in this neighborhood?
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdos in this.
Yeah.
This takes place in Pennsylvania, by the way.
Oh, goody.
It's I actually, as a native Pennsylvanian myself, I liked some of the small touches, like the PennDOT stickers and the wine and spirit store they go to. I was like, that's like us, because we only have wine and spirits because the state owns all of our liquor stores.
There's I don't know. To me, like I figured that out, but I think a lot of the twists and shit like this that questions people might have walking out after this movie, if you just think on it for a hot second, you'll figure it all out.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff we're able to.
There's nothing really like that you really have to put work into to figure it out. It's just all like, oh yeah, that's how we get there.
Yeah. Again, the only thing that really sort of throws a wrench in that is the whole red herring dude, and how much of his bullshit is actually just fucking happenstance and coincidence.
All of it.
Yeah. Unless there is some connection to him and the Jones family, we just don't ever have that told to us.
Yeah.
But no, the other scene though I wanna point out as being great is after Jake Gyllenhaal saves the day, he basically gets in a gun standoff with the girl, and she shoots at him. He fires like I think 3 times on her and fucking annihilates her. But she shoots him and the bullet grazes his face and it cuts open his eye. He's bleeding everywhere. But before she shoots him, she injects something into the girl, presumably something that will kill her. I don't know if he ever actually says what it is, but something that will kill her very soon if it's not cured. So he's the only one around. He doesn't even have his phone, I think, for backup at this point. He loads up the girl in his car, and he's driving furiously in heavy snow to try to get this girl to an emergency room. But as this is happening, his face is bleeding all over the side. He can only see out of one eye. He's starting to kind of pass out due to a lack of blood. And it's a really tense moment because he's weaving in and out of traffic on a very slick road. He can't really see where he's going. You can
driving through stoplights and
you can see his vision
right on
starting
into
to
traffic.
fade. Yeah, and he has the little girl in the back. If they get hit by a car, if they don't die from the car accident, their injuries are going to kill them.
Oh, she'll die from the car accident.
Yeah,
she would. She's not even buckled down or anything like that. She'd go flying.
Yeah, so it's a very tense moment. That was probably my highlight of the movie because I was in. It gripped me like a heart attack on that sort of scene. I was just like, this is fucking great. I was 100%.
I'm jaded. There's something wrong with me. I'm watching.
I think you just.
I've seen a lot of. You haven't seen a lot of movies.
Well, I've had this same feeling on different media before. I've had this feeling with manga as well. I've had actually a very similar moment to a very similar car scene in a manga before, where it's just. When I get swept into the emotion of a movie, a suspenseful scene, it's great. It's 100%.
I can 100% feel for you there. I just didn't get those connections here. But, like I said, it's 99% of the time, probably, or percent of this time, probably because of the crowd I was in. But I was like, yeah, he's going to get there. This is, suspense.
I think at that point you were like, can you just get there so the movie can end?
Yeah. But no, we got to spend 20 more minutes on fucking Hugh Jackman being captured. Fuck this movie.
Hold on. It turns out that old woman also a red herring. The real children, because those are clones, the real children, turns out it was fucking Hugh Jackman's kid all along.
Hugh Jackman did it all along.
I thought that's what they were going to do at one point. I was like, that's the twist? This doesn't make any damn sense.
But,
I thought it was actually going to be Loki. I thought he was involved in some way for a while.
No, I thought, never mind. I can't remember who I was thinking it was. But no, I didn't see any of who it was. I mean, because the whole movie, the trailer leads you up to believe that this guy did it. He's just fucking insane. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, it's this guy. Let's just figure out how he beats the shit out of him to tell him and stuff like that. And it's not him, so he better feel like shit at the end of this. But then again, he did kidnap the kids.
Yeah, well, he did take the kids along for a ride, and then the mom decided, hey, we're going to keep them as well.
Yeah.
Her motivation for doing so is...
Oh, that's insane.
What?
She does it to force...
She wants basically faithful people to lose their faith. She and her husband is another connection in this film, had a son when they were young, and the son died of cancer. And while they were together as a family, they used to go around spreading the faith. And once their son died, they kind of lost the faith. And at that point, she just kind of breaks mentally. The two of them do, and they decide that their only way of kind of living in this world is to spread that same misery to people. So they go and kidnap children, and then watch the families just tear themselves apart, which does happen in this movie, as we see from the Dover family. The wife is addicted to insomnia pills. She barely seems in any sort of state half the time. Most of the time, just asleep.
And Hugh Jackman's character is a very diehard religious nut.
Yeah, he's gone full. There's even a moment actually.
Where he's trying to say the prayer.
He's trying to say Our Father. He says it at the beginning of the movie, and he gets to the point where he says, "Forgive us our trespasses, as we would forgive those who trespass against us." But he can't repeat it. He can't say, "Forgive those who trespass against us."
I like that part.
he can't forgive the people who are sinning against him. It's a great little moment right there. And this is as he's outside of the box he's put the kid in that he's torturing him in.
Hmm.
It's a great moment. They were very successful in doing it. They've torn that family apart. It's never going to be the same. You could say the same for the Birch family as well.
Well, yeah,
Terrence
because half of
Howard,
them are in jail
yeah,
now.
Terrence Howard and what's her name are probably going to be in jail too because as co-conspirators in this whole event, they both knew about it. It's not really clear what will happen to them. Hugh
I
Jackman.
bet Hugh Jackman will
them up.
take all of it though.
He probably will, but who knows what will happen in that regard. If they investigate into it, they might find fingerprints or something like that from what's his butts there. And
I guarantee if they replace this Hugh Jackman with me, I would have got more answers out of him.
I think that this is a movie. A lot of the
He didn't
enjoyment.
even waterboard him.
Yeah, look, we all know how you like to create torture scenarios, so I'm sure that you've been applying them all.
Yeah, I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel uncomfortable at all during those scenes.
I didn't feel uncomfortable. Plus, huge props to the makeup crew.
Oh, for his face.
Yeah, there is an afternoon where Hugh Jackman just spends it beating this kid in the face over and over again. And when the one wife comes to see him the next day, she just takes a look. It's just inflated. You can't even see one of his eyes. There's just huge welts all over his face.
Yep.
It's very jarring, but very cool. But no, as I was saying, I think a huge part of the enjoyment I had of this movie was because Hugh Jackman was so spectacular. And I think if you had replaced his character with someone else, someone with less passion,
Believable. Somebody
yeah,
less believable.
I think it really would have fallen apart. I think it was great casting on that end, and he's probably the strongest part of this movie. Again, Loki is okay.
But he's not
I'm
blinking.
not a huge Jake Gyllenhaal fan. His character works. He's the cops who he tries to, he solves every case, but in that same
I
respect,
don't think he actually does.
he probably not.
I think the captain just said it to reassure the mother.
I'm sure he does.
But
But he doesn't break the rules. If he can't do something, he's not gonna, break every rule in the book to do it. He's
But he beats himself up for everything that goes wrong with that movie. And you know what's funny? If Hugh Jackman wouldn't have done what he done, they would have actually found them a lot sooner.
Well, that's that you can even argue. Hugh Jackman does all of this because he feels the police aren't doing anything. But by not cooperating with the police, he actually delayed it and got himself in.
Well, because at that point, Jake Gyllenhaal spends most of his time following him.
Yeah.
After he kidnaps the kid. So
it's tough because Hugh Jackman's, he doesn't have any reason. He feels like the case has almost been dropped. They're letting this guy go, this guy who seems to have a lot of connections to this, and Jake Gyllenhaal can't say anything more than, well, he's an option. So Hugh Jackman's character, who is very independent, who is have a plan on a way to keep yourself alive if no one else can help you.
He's a doomsday prepper.
Not a doomsday prepper.
I think he's a doomsday prepper.
No, he's very much so.
He's got the gas mask. He's got
he has everything in case something goes wrong. But I think that's rather just a highly because doomsday prepper. I imagine like a huge bunker.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Shit.
Not all of them.
He's just prepared for the worst to make sure he and his family can survive in any situation.
Except for a kidnapping.
He'll take that. That was fucking harsh from his wife too, when she's just like about to pass out. And
and you were supposed to protect us,
but you couldn't. I was just like, oh, you bitch! How dare you?
I was actually gonna get into that. I was like, she is awful. She is awful in that scene.
Yeah,
he's doing everything he can, and plus a bunch of shit you don't know. Get off his fucking nuts, woman. And then he goes back to drinking and shit like that.
Amusingly, only because fucking Loki sees him.
Yeah.
We presume that's the first time he started drinking because he had to basically create an alibi for why he was there.
Yep. And then, oh shit, what was the other scene with him? The one scene where he finds a sock and he points at it and he points, he's tapping on it with his finger. That blood is on you or something like that, or he says something like that to Loki.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's not. If this was, this is on you. If that was your actual daughter's blood, that was on you at that moment. Not because he didn't protect them, but because he wasted so much of the cop's time.
He hasn't been
on him.
Yeah, and that's the point. You're not really supposed to find. You're supposed to find Hugh Jackman heroic and likable in the sense of he's a father trying to help rescue his daughter. but you're also supposed to realize he's pretty
He's turned
awful.
into the criminal in this movie.
He has gone too far.
He
100%
turns.
he has gone too far. You aren't supposed to respect his methods. You aren't supposed to be like, yeah, you beat up that fucking, special needs kid to find where your daughter is.
Well, he becomes just like him.
Well, she doesn't come just like him, but he goes too far off the edge. It's funny. In this movie, Wolverine becomes Batman.
But overall, I don't know. Anything you want to get into? Anything?
No, I mean, I think I've kind of gotten into everything I want to. As I said, it's just a really strong movie, I think. There's some certain points in it that I think are absolutely fantastic. There are some plot holes. There are some things that are going to hang you up. And I guess it's just unnecessary to say, since all of you who are listening at this point have already heard all the spoilers, but it is one of those movies that I feel you can get engrossed in, and you want to watch it to find it's a good movie to get sucked into and to find out all the find out how everything kind of ties together.
I'm going to rent this movie when it comes out again and rewatch it. I am not going to pay to go to another showing of this, even though I only spent $3 per person for this. But
maybe that's your thing. Stop going to the shitty movie theater. Fucking price it up a little bit more when you have to see something like this.
I don't. If I know if I'm only going to see like the Marvel big action movies in the good theater.
So that's gonna change one day, Randy. I'm gonna make you go to good movies. Buy your tickets or something.
But I was sitting there in this movie watching it, and then we get to the scene where Hugh Jackman gets caught. I'm just like, god damn, another half an hour of this shit.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, he's gonna confront her. We're gonna get the daughter. This movie's gonna end in the next like 10 minutes. Nope.
And she pulls the gun on him. And you're like, God damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it.
Great. Good, great, grand. Everyone on the bus.
All right. Anything left to say?
No.
No.
I'm gonna run it again. Like I said, take my views of this movie very not serious. I believe you. I won't fight you on this one. If you're as long as you're agreeing this movie is too long,
100%. It's too long of a movie.
I will think that regardless of if people were talking my theater or not. But I believe if I had a better experience with this movie, rewatch it, shit like that, I might end up liking it more than I originally did. So you don't have to deal with my wrath this week, Chris.
Your wrath.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, talking about it for me was more fun than watching it.
Very good then.
Watch it. You guys, let us know what your opinions are at some point. Because I think this will be one of those that, I'm probably definitely wrong on. So, Randy almost liked the movie. Oh, I liked last week's movie, ish. That Chris didn't like. I thought the family was all right. I liked the Wolverine.
It was like 2 months ago.
I know.
I like that. That's like
I fucking love.
I like the movie 4 months ago.
I like.
My ass.
I loved World War Z.
We never even talked about that one.
I know. That's because for some reason we decided to wait 2 weeks before we started this.
We decided to have two movies that would have been great discussions, and then start on the Lone Ranger instead.
Yep. No, actually, we were supposed to start with Batman. Or not Batman, Superman we were supposed to start with.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, we had Superman, which had a great discussion, and then we had World War Z, which we both liked, and we discussed it all, without doing the podcast. And then we were like, all right, we'll start next week when we do the Lone Ranger.
And I barely said anything about that movie. Because that movie was just, that whole review was just me being mad that I had to sit through a fucking, whatever his name is, movie.
It's worth noting that next week we'll be taking a look at Rush, the Chris Hemsworth Formula One racing movie.
Are we sure that's the one? Because I know we have to do it to line up with Gavin.
I know it's that one.
Okay, so it is Rush next week. Okay.
Yeah, it is Rush next week, and I might also have something small to say on Don John, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt directed, written, starred in movie.
Oh, he's directing it too?
Yeah, he did everything on it.
I might actually have to see that one or not when you see it, but before you can tell me if it's any good or not. The only way you'd be able to do that one is if you told me on like very, very early on Saturday morning if it was worth it.
Who knows? We'll see.
But I like the kid. I'd support him and see what he's doing.
Yeah.
But that's going to be it. So look forward to what we're doing next week. I do not know what will happen for Co-op or Die tonight. I will drop something in the chat once we figure it out in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next Sunday for Exposition Dump.
Chicano.
Oh, Scoozy. God, I hope that wasn't the first thing that was heard. I have to edit that one out.
Probably was.
Probably was. I would agree. So we just, I just fucking got back from Prisoners. Chris, you saw it earlier this afternoon, right?
Yep.
Go ahead, run it down.
So, Prisoners is a movie by Denis Villeneuve. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's a story about the Dover family, with the head of the family being Keller Dover, played by Hugh Jackman, and the Birch family, with Terrence Howard playing the father there, who are joining together their families for Thanksgiving Day dinner. Mm-hmm. And while they are there, their two daughters, the daughters from a respective family, the youngest ones, decide to go over back to the Dover's place to go pick up something, and they don't return. And they'd come to find out that the two daughters have been kidnapped, presumably by this strange RV that was parked not too far away from the house. At that point, we are then introduced to Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Detective Loki, who decides to get in on the case. However, things are not progressing very favorably for the family, so Hugh Jackman's character, Keller Dover, decides to take matters into his own hands after feeling that the police aren't doing enough, and goes to what some would consider very extreme lengths to try to get his daughter back. This is essentially a thriller, mystery, suspense movie with a little bit of crime thrown in there.
I didn't feel any suspense, Chris.
Oh, there's a lot of it in this movie.
I didn't feel
There are some absolutely tense moments in this movie.
Let me get out my warning first. I had the worst movie-going experience of my entire life with this movie. It wasn't the movie itself, I hope, but I had the most talkative crowd I've ever had in movies. So, my opinion of this movie, I can't really, like, when we get to the end, I cannot exactly grade this movie, because I don't know if I'm agitated at the movie or the experience I was having while watching this movie.
A shitty crowd can ruin a movie.
Yeah, it was fucking terrible.
This is a mystery movie, and there are several twists in it. And this is one of those movies that if you get someone, like even in our audience, I went at noon. That's generally the time I go see movies because not a lot of people are there. Yep. And even in my movie theater, which was huge, but probably only had like a dozen people in, there were still one or two girls who were like, "Oh my god!" when like the twist happened or when they cut off suddenly for something like that. So I can only imagine what a packed theater would have of people being like, "Oh, do you think it's him?"
What I'm about to say, all my negatives about this movie with a grain of salt because I don't know, what it's coming from. But to me, this movie felt like it was at least 45 minutes too long. It just felt like a lot of the characters they were just doing stuff to do stuff at some points. They were kind of wandering aimlessly and shit like that. There were some scenes that didn't need to be there, I thought. And the movie would be better off without them. I don't know. It just dragged. It dragged for me. I'm just like, can we have something happen?
I would agree that it's definitely a long movie, and it's definitely a little too long. There is a point in the middle of the movie where we get thrown a red herring culprit.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff. The way the movie even ends, without getting into too much spoilers, you're not even really sure why that character was there. There's a lot of discussion you can have.
Is this a spoiler or not? I'm going to type it into the thingy. And you let me know. It's just the word that I'm going to bring up.
Yeah, sure. I think you can bring that up.
Okay. There's a scene in this movie where Jake Gyllenhaal's character finds snakes. And my crowd just gasps. I mean, they were freaking out at these fucking snakes.
It comes out of left field, but honestly, the snakes have very little impact on anything.
No, of course not. There's no... They come up twice in this whole movie. There's...
I think this is one movie I think we're going to have to get our rating out very
very
early
soon because we're
because
gonna
it's
have to.
it's
Yeah.
very difficult to talk about this movie without getting into spoilers almost immediately because this is a drama. This is a suspense movie.
This movie is sitting at 2 hours 26 minutes long, which to me, for this movie, I don't like I said, I don't I you have to take